Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle.
And welcome to the end!
The end of the year, that is. And for this special episode, I'm gonna be taking a look at some of my favorite G.I. Joe items. And there's also gonna be some other stuff. But first and foremost, here are my top 5 favorite G.I. Joe items.
These are a few of my favorite things.
My Crimson Guard Army. Okay, so the Crimson Guard is my favorite figure of all time. So, naturally, I always wanted to have an army of them. And over the years, I managed to do just that. Seeing them all just makes me giddy. They say you can have too much of a good thing, but not in this case.
These are a few of my favorite things.
The Terrordome. Do I really need to say anything else?
It's the freaking Terrordome!
It's my favorite playset and took quite some doing to get. This thing was never released in Belgium, so it took me until early this century to get one on eBay and have it shipped from the US. It's the most money I've ever spent on a thing, but it was worth every single penny.
Okay, so those first 2 entries could be misconstrued as just bragging. The other ones are gonna be a little more personal though.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Scrap Iron, Major Blood, and the Baroness.
These 3 are special because of the unique ways that I acquired them.
First off, none of these were released in Belgium, so 2 of those I didn't have as a kid. Scrap Iron was the first toy I had sent over from the States after I had started collecting and found the online G.I. Joe community in the late 90s, so it will always be special. Major Blood is a weird one. I found him at a flea market in the next town over, even though, like I said, he was never released here. And what's even weirder is that it's actually the Fun School version from freaking India. As such, I have no idea how it ended up here. The Baroness is the weirdest tale of all, since I did have it as a child. You wanna know how I got her?
Misogyny!
So, she was never released in Belgium. She did, however, come out in other European countries, including Holland, under the Action Force brand. On a trip to the Netherlands with my parents, we went into a toy store and found her hanging on a peg there. Only she wasn't on a Baroness card. She was on a Destro card, one that had had the bottom of the bubble cracked open. So what had happened, near as I can figure, is some local kid had gotten a brand new Baroness toy, but wasn't too pleased with it.
On account of girls being icky and the cooties and all of that stuff.
So this miniature Kaiser Soze must have come up with the perfect crime. Go to the toy store and replace it with a figure he actually liked. Why, that's hardly stealing at all! Anyway, I snatched it up, and it was the most unique thing in my collection as a kid, and that's why it's still special.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Hooded Cobra Commander.
Yay!
Not you! I'm talking about the action figure. Though you're pretty cool too.
Oh. Well, fair enough.
Much like in America, Hasbro also did mail-in figures in Belgium, calling their service the G.I. Joe Club. The club was great. You could write letters to them and they'd answer, sometimes even in character as members of the Joe team, often giving some swag away, small stuff like stickers or promotional booklets.
Hell, I could do an entire episode on just the club.
Anyway, the first toy they offered was Hooded Cobra Commander, so I was all over that. I cut out the star points, our version of the flag points, and sent in my order. Then I waited 3 to 6 weeks and got the figure as well as my membership to the club.
Remember when ordering something used to take 3 to 6 weeks to get to you, instead of now when it's the very next day or sometimes even same day delivery? Good times, good times.
And this is that very same toy. It'll always be extra special to me.
That just leaves one more item.
These are a few of my favorite things.
A simple comic book. It's a supersized issue called the Treasury Edition. It has 3 stories in it. One from the first G.I. Joe comic, one from the middle, and the very last issue of the original Marvel run. That's not what makes this special though.
This thing is signed by Larry Hama.
You know, the guy who wrote most of the file cards and G.I. Joe comics in the 80s. He's basically the Tolkien or J.K. Rowling of G.I. Joe. And the absolute best part?
This was actually sent to me by a viewer. That's right. Somebody liked my show enough that when they were at a Comic-Con and they ran into Larry Hama, they had him sign this for me, and then they mailed it all the way to freaking Belgium. That's just incredible.
It's really fitting this comic is called a Treasury Edition, because I will always treasure it. And that was my list. It wasn't one of the best action figures or greatest toys, just one for items that mean the most to me.
But we're not quite done. I figured I'd take a short look back at the year. The year on Half the Battle, I mean, not 2016 in general. Because that would just be me screaming in terror for 5 minutes.
The biggest event was, without a doubt, the Cobra Convergence crossover with HCC 788 and Form BX 257. 2 great guys with incredibly hard names to say and remember.
Seriously, would it kill you guys to just use Steve or something as your nickname?
But really, working with those guys was awesome. And since the beginning of the year, I tripled my subscribers. In no small part due to the exposure this collaboration gave me. It was an unexpected but welcome side effect.
Unexpected is the word of the day.
I'm up to nearly 500 subs now, and my best watched episode has just broken 3,000 views. I've even got money coming in from Patreon, the results of which you should see fairly soon. I didn't expect any of this, and I'm grateful and humbled by all the support. So I just have to finish by thanking all of you. Thank you, Steve and other Steve, for Cobra Convergence. Thank you, patrons, for your continued support.
Thanks for the comic book. And last but certainly not least, thanks to each and every one of you for watching. Well, I guess all that's left is to wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays!
A happy Feast of Wintervale, or however you want to celebrate, and to wish you all a Happy New Year. Here's to 2017!
And remember, don't drink and drive. Because if you do, Cobra will freaking kill your ass.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe! See you next year, everybody!
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.